Why do some people overcome every challenge while others stay stuck for years? It's not luck or talent. It's a single daily habit that transforms everything. Practiced consistently, it reshapes how you think, how you act, and who you become. This small action holds the power to change your entire life. In few moments, I will teach you a daily habit. So powerful, it can change the way you think, act, and live. It's not about motivation or luck. It's about mastering one simple action that, when repeated, rewires your mindset and transforms your future. 1. Begin each day with a definite purpose. Each morning offers a rare and powerful gift. A clean slate untouched and brimming with potential. It arrives silently, asking nothing of you except a response. Yet most people meet it passively. They rise groggily, shuffle through routines, and step into the world without intention, as though life will hand them directions somewhere along the way. But life rarely works like that. Without purpose, the hours scatter. Energy leaks. Distractions multiply. You reach the end of the day, exhausted, but unfulfilled, wondering where your time went. But there's another way to live. One that begins the moment you open your eyes. It starts not with action, but with awareness, the decision to lead rather than follow. When you begin each day with a definite purpose, you move from reaction to creation. The hours no longer pull you around. They respond to your intent. Your time begins to reflect your values, your mind sharpens, your focus deepens, and your choices begin to align. Even when the unexpected happens, as it always does, you remain grounded because your compass was set from the start. Purpose doesn't have to roar. It isn't always a bold mission or a dramatic declaration. Sometimes it's quiet, a whispered promise you make to yourself in the early light. Today I will be kind. Today I will speak the truth even when it's hard. Today I will move one step closer to the life I want. This small act of inner alignment creates a ripple that carries through every hour conversation. Shift. Decisions simplify. The day becomes not a string of tasks, but a deliberate unfolding of intent. Consider the power of a single person who wakes up with resolve. Their posture is different. Their energy draws people in, not because they're louder or more skilled, but because they are anchored. In contrast, someone who begins without clarity is far more vulnerable to noise, direction, and indecision. The difference by evening is staggering. One has shaped their day. The other has merely survived it. So ask yourself, why are you waking up? What is today for? Is there a principle you want to live by? A habit you're trying to form? A fear you're ready to face? Choose something, anything, that aligns with who you want to become. Hold it close. Let it guide your tone, your pace, your priorities. Let it filter what deserves your attention and what does not. In the end, purpose doesn't just move your day forward. It transforms it from a string of events to a story worth telling. From wasted potential to lived momentum. When you wake with a definite purpose, you claim the authorship of your own life. The page is blank. What will you write today? 2. Cultivate self-belief like a daily ritual. There's a quiet force within you. A steady presence that doesn't shout for attention but waits patiently to be heard. It isn't fueled by ego or the need to impress. It doesn't seek applause. It simply exists, grounded and unwavering. Most people never take the time to listen to it. Instead, they wake up and instantly look outward. They absorb others' opinions and unconsciously ask the world, who am I supposed to be today? But that's not where belief begins. It doesn't grow in the spotlight or in the noise of others' voices. It grows in silence, in solitude, in the deep stillness where only your voice matters. You don't need the world's permission to believe in yourself. You don't need validation from friends or recognition from strangers. What you need, truly, is consistency. The kind that doesn't waver based on how you're feeling or what's happening around you. Because belief isn't built in a moment of glory. It's built in repetition every day. Every choice, every thought is casting a vote for either trust or doubt. And that's what most people miss. It's not about the grand gestures or the perfect outcomes. It's about what you do repeatedly when no one is watching. That's where self-trust is formed. That's where belief takes root. The mind is like a well. Whatever you pour into it, you will eventually draw back out. If you feed it fear, hesitation, and criticism, that's what you'll find at your core. But if you pour in courage, persistence, and integrity, even in small doses, those qualities begin to shape your default. Your inner narrative shifts. Instead of asking, "Can I do this?" you begin to say, "I've done hard things before. I can do this too." Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a difficult decision. The kind that makes your chest tighten and your thoughts race. You hesitate. Part of you wants to retreat, to postpone, to avoid the risk of failure. But then you remember. Every time you choose hesitation over action, you reinforce the habit of quitting. Reinforce the idea that doubt is stronger than will. On the other hand, each time you try, even if you stumble, you teach your mind that trying is your default. That belief doesn't require perfection, only persistence. And that choice compounds over time, building a foundation stronger than fleeting motivation. The way you speak to yourself matters more than most realize. Your internal dialogue is the first voice you hear and the last voice you carry through your day. Do you speak with respect? Or do you let your thoughts wander like strangers through a crowded room? Uninvited, unchallenged, and unchecked? What would happen if instead you treated your own mind like a trusted companion? One deserving of patience, of encouragement, of discipline? What would your life look like if every single day you trusted yourself just a little bit more? Self-belief doesn't come from a single bold act. It grows in the space between the small ones. It's born in early mornings when you choose not to give up. In quiet nights, when you show up again despite doubt. It is shaped by 100 invisible choices that no one else sees but that you feel. And over time, those choices form the story of who you are. So listen to that quiet force. Trust it, feed it. Let it guide you not just on the good days, but especially on the hard ones. Because every time you do, you're not just surviving, you're becoming someone unshakable. 3. Train your mind to see obstacles as opportunities. It's tempting to long for ease, days that unfold without friction, plans that go unchallenged, roads without detour. But the truth is, comfort has never forged greatness. No one becomes strong by coasting downhill. The people you admire most, the ones who seem carved from something deeper and tougher than the rest, didn't arrive at their strength by avoiding hardship. They walked straight into difficulty. They stumbled, fought, endured. And it was because of the struggle, not in spite of it, that they became who they are. What if you started to see life differently? What if every obstacle wasn't a signal to stop, but a signal to become? Resistance, after all, is the very thing that builds strength. It's what sharpens your focus, stretches your limits, and reveals who you really are underneath the noise. When everything around you pushes back, your will has the rare chance to push forward. That's the moment when something changes. Not out there, but within you. You stop asking why it's hard and start asking, what am I made of? Too many people turn back at the first hint of discomfort. A plan goes wrong and they fold. A door closes and they walk away. They believe difficulty is a sign that they should stop, that maybe it wasn't meant for them. But what if that's wrong? What if the obstacle is the path? Maybe the challenge you're facing isn't there to defeat you, it's there to develop you. And maybe it's not the closed door that matters, but how you respond to it. Will you knock louder? Try a different key, or build your own door from the ground up? Let's say the well runs dry. It's easy to feel helpless. It's easy to mourn what's gone, or wallow in what's missing. But the truth is, you have a choice. You can cry over the thirst, or you can start digging. And in that digging, sweaty, uncertain, relentless, you begin to transform. Your arms grow stronger, your patience stretches, your purpose deepens. The dry land teaches you to rely not on what you're given, but on what you can create. That's where grit is born, not in the comfort of having, but in the fight to build. When life presses against you, and it will, ask yourself, Do I crumble or do I rise? Do I see problems as punishment or as preparation? Because everything that tests you is also teaching you. The hardship you're facing today could be the very story that changes someone's life tomorrow. Your scars can become someone else's survival map, but only if you keep going. Only if you let the struggle shape you rather than shrink you. Greatness isn't born from ease. It's forged in resistance. In moments when the world feels heavy and yet you keep moving. In days when quitting seems reasonable, but you choose to persist. Every no you hear is an opportunity for your will to say yes. Every setback is a chance to decide who you really are. So don't run from difficulty, don't wish it away. Let it shape you, let it teach you how to fight, how to build, how to rise. Because what presses against you today might just be the very thing that prepares you to carry something greater tomorrow. For practice stillness to harness inner clarity. The world doesn't slow down for anyone. It rushes forward with relentless momentum, dragging minds, schedules, and hearts behind it. From the moment you wake, your flood, conversations, deadlines, demands, racing thoughts, anxieties, dreams, regrets, they've always been there. That's why clarity has never come from motion. It has always come from stillness. Stillness isn't laziness, nor is it retreat. It's mastery. It's the ability to pause without losing momentum, to be fully aware in the present without grasping for the future or replaying the past. Stillness is that rare moment when the world doesn't get to decide what you think, feel, or believe. It's the space between stimulus and response. The space where your highest, most grounded self can emerge. Without it, you're a leaf caught in the wind. With it, you become the one who steers the current. You might say, "But I'm too busy." That very thought is the reason you need stillness the most. Busyness without reflection is a trap. A cycle of doing without understanding. Reacting without choosing. The more constant your motion, the more clouded your mind becomes. Like a river in flood, it loses its clarity, rushing forward without direction. But when the waters are still, when the mud settles, the truth beneath becomes visible. You can see what matters. You can see yourself again. Picture this. It's early morning. You step outside, coffee in hand, and sit quietly as the sun rises. There's no urgency, no alerts, no conversations to navigate. Just wind in the trees, the slow spill of light, the rhythm of your breath, and that space. Something within you loosens. You begin to hear your own voice again, the one that gets drowned out during the day. And in that moment, simple but profound, you remember. Your life is not a reaction. It's a series of choices. Your emotions are not dictators. They are signals, not commands. Today is not something you survive. It's something you can shape. When was the last time you paused long enough to hear yourself think? Not in passing, not in distraction, but with full attention? We often let the crowd's dust cloud our direction. We follow the noise, the pace, the pressure, but in doing so, we lose the most important compass we have. Our inner voice. It whispers rather than shouts, and that's why stillness is essential. It allows us to hear what truly matters, to remember who we are beneath the noise. You don't need hours. Even 5 minutes a day can shift everything. A brief return to center. A breath between the chaos. A silent declaration that you belong to yourself, not to the world's momentum. In that space, clarity is born. In that stillness, strength gathers. Stillness isn't the absence of movement. It's the presence of awareness. It's where you reclaim your mind, your emotions, your direction. Not by withdrawing from life, but by meeting it with intention and in a world that never stops spinning. Stillness might be the most radical, powerful thing you can choose. 5. Take personal responsibility for every outcome. There comes a point, quiet and unceremonious, when every person realizes a truth that changes everything. No one is coming. No hero is about to ride in and save the day. No mentor, no partner, no moment of magical luck will arrive to rewrite the story. It's just you, your choices, your mindset, your willingness to face what stands in your way. And while that may sound like a harsh truth, it is in fact a liberating one. Because when you stop waiting for someone else to change your life, you finally begin to realize that you've had the power all along. This realization shouldn't be met with fear. It should be welcomed with fire. It marks the transition from drifting through life to driving it. When you take full responsibility for your thoughts, your actions, and the results they produce, something inside you shifts. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and start seeing yourself as the author of your own path. That shift is the beginning of real power. Not borrowed power, not conditional power, but power that no one can take away from you. Responsibility is often misunderstood. It's not guilt. It's not self-blame. It's not about carrying shame for everything that's ever gone wrong. It's about ownership. Ownership means saying, "This is my life. I don't control everything that happens, but I do control how I meet it." That subtle shift changes everything. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What can I do with this?" That question opens doors where before there were only walls. Picture two people facing a challenge. One points outward to the weather, the traffic, their parents, their boss. They hand their power to everything and everyone around them. The other looks inward. They say, "This is mine to solve," even if the fault isn't theirs. The response is, which one would you trust to lead? Which one builds a life that endures? The answer is obvious, not just in logic, but in your gut. We're drawn to people who take ownership, who meet the world head-on without excuses. It's easier, of course, to blame, to wait, to wish someone else would do the hard part. But every time you defer responsibility, you give away a piece of your power. You become a spectator in your own story. And life is too short, too fragile, and too valuable for that. What if you reclaimed that power? What if you treated every failure, not as a verdict, but as feedback? Every mistake, not as proof of inadequacy, but as a draft, rough and real, of a better version of you. Life isn't a test you pass once. It's a blueprint you refine daily. But that blueprint only becomes yours when you stop pointing fingers and start using your hands. So ask yourself, what part of your life are you still waiting for someone else to fix? What story are you still telling where you're the victim and not the builder? And then ask, what would your world look like if you stopped waiting and started owning, really owning it? The past, the present, the future? Not with blame, but with courage, because once you do, the ground beneath you stops shifting. You're no longer building on sand, you're building on bedrock. Firm, tested, yours, and from there you can create anything. 6. Master the art of persistence. The world does not easily yield its treasure. It does not part its clouds for those who try once and walk away. It watches, waits, and tests. It gives its reward not to the loudest or the fastest, but to the one who shows up again and again, calm in their conviction, steady in their steps. There is something rare and powerful about a person who can keep knocking day after day with unwavering faith, even when silence is the only reply. And if you've ever given up right before something broke open, you know the ache of wondering how close you might have been. Persistence isn't just about continuing. It's about believing while you do. It's not blind stubbornness or mindless repetition. It's clarity. It's knowing what matters to you so clearly that you're willing to suffer through uncertainty for the chance to reach it. It's knowing that what you seek is not owed to you, but it is available, if you can endure what stands between you and it. And endurance, real endurance, isn't a dramatic burst of effort. It's walking sometimes slowly, sometimes painfully, but always forward through doubt, through silence, through days that feel wasted and nights that feel empty. Because even when nothing visible is happening, something inside you is shifting, hardening in the best way, sharpening. Every meaningful achievement hides behind a series of invisible walls. Failures, delays, heartbreaks, false starts. You push through one, thinking that must be the last. But another waits, then another. This is where most turn back. They decide the thing they want must not be meant for them. That maybe the signs are pointing to no, but the truth is signs can be deceiving. especially when viewed through the lens of exhaustion. Just because something is hard doesn't mean it isn't right. In fact, the hardest things are often the most worth it. Think of a seed planted in soil. You water it every day for a week, 2 weeks. Nothing happens. The surface remains still. Doubt creeps in. Maybe it's dead. Maybe you did something wrong. So you dig it up and try again with a new seed, hoping for faster proof. But what if the sprout was just a day away? What if all your effort was about to be met with a tiny green shoot, fragile but undeniable? That is the cruel trick of persistence. It often asks you to believe in what you cannot yet see. Life is full of moments where people quit too soon. They walk away from a dream just before it takes shape. They stop trying in a relationship just before a breakthrough. They abandon a calling just before it starts to speak back. We do this not because we're weak, but because we're human. We crave results, confirmation, signs that we're not wasting ourselves. But persistence, real persistence, is an act of faith. Not blind faith, but earned faith. A faith rooted in effort, in history, in the memory of what you've survived already. So ask yourself, where are you giving up too soon? Where have you convinced yourself that it's over when it may only be resting, shifting, taking shape beneath the surface? What if the answer you're waiting for isn't far away, but just one more attempt down the road? What if your next step is the one that opens the door? No one will carry you across the finish line, but the finish line is real. It exists for those who outlast the doubt, who keep showing up when it's not glamorous or exciting. The ones who knock, wait, and knock again, who stay when it's easier to go, who believe not because the world has promised, but because something deep inside them refuses to let go. That is persistence, not noise, but quiet resolve, not drama, but depth. And in the end, the world does open, not quickly, not easily, but fully, to the one who never stops trying. 7. Choose discipline over comfort. There's a quiet, seductive trap that catches even the most capable people. Comfort. It's soft, familiar, reassuring. It tells you that you've done enough, that you've earned a break. That pushing further isn't necessary. It wraps itself around your ambitions and gently convinces you to slow down, to play it safe, to coast. And at first, it feels deserved, like rest after a long journey. But the truth is comfort, left unchecked, becomes stagnation. It's not evil or loud. It's just passive. It doesn't stop you. It slowly dulls your edge until you forget you ever had one. Growth, on the other hand, demands discomfort. It requires you to step outside what feels good and into what feels right. It asks you to trade what's easy for what's meaningful. And that's where discipline enters. Not as a punishment, but as a quiet, reliable friend. Discipline doesn't arrive with applause or approval. It shows up in the early mornings when the bed is warm and your goals feel distant. It meets you in the hard choices, in saying no to distraction, in committing to action long after the initial spark has gone out. Most people wait for motivation. They hope to feel inspired before they begin, but motivation is fleeting. It's emotional, circumstantial, and unreliable. It's easy to act when you want to, but that's not what builds anything lasting. Discipline, by contrast, doesn't care how you feel. It honors the decision you made yesterday and carries it into today. It's the quiet voice that says, "Get up anyway, do it anyway, keep going." Consider the person who decides to write a page each morning. There's no spotlight, no crowd, no guarantee of success, just a promise made in solitude. The first few days are awkward. The words feel clumsy. The motivation wears thin, but they persist. The page becomes part of their rhythm. Days turn into weeks. And before long, they've written a book, not because they were inspired every day, but because they showed up every day. That is discipline at work, not glamorous, but transformative. Discipline isn't harsh, it's honest. It looks you in the eye and reminds you of what you said you wanted, even when your current mood tries to renegotiate. It's not about perfection, it's about alignment. About showing up for yourself, especially when no one else is watching, because that's the real test. Not how well you perform in public, but how faithfully you move in private. You have to ask yourself, do you seek ease or excellence? Because they rarely walk the same path. Comfort will always offer you an easier route, but it's a short-term pleasure with a long-term cost. Discipline, while demanding in the moment, builds a life that becomes easier over time, not because the challenges go away, but because you become stronger, sharper, more capable of meeting them. Discipline means eating well when junk food is calling your name. It means working on your craft when distraction would be more fun. It means having the hard conversation when silence feels safer. It means making your bed, showing up on time, keeping your word, not because someone's watching, but because you are. Every act of discipline is a message you send to yourself. I can count on me. And over time, that message rewires your confidence. You begin to trust your own follow-through. You stop needing external accountability because you've built internal integrity. There's something deeply empowering about discipline. It strips away the noise. It doesn't care about excuses. It cares about direction. It asks, where are you going, and then demands you take the next step. Not in a week. Not when you feel ready. Even if it's small, especially when it's small. Because that's where the muscle is built. Not in the grand moments, but in the everyday decisions that most people overlook. And yes, discipline will feel hard now. It will stretch you. It will demand trade-offs. But those very trade-offs are what lead to freedom. A life without discipline feels easy in the short run but heavy in the long run. Filled with regrets, mischances, and unfulfilled potential. A life with discipline may feel tough in the short term, but it creates lightness later. Pride in your choices, clarity in your path, momentum in your purpose. So the question isn't whether discipline is easy. It's whether it's worth it. And the answer is always yes. Because discipline is the only bridge between the life you dream about and the life you actually build. It doesn't require talent, luck, or perfect conditions. Just a willingness to keep showing up, to stay aligned with what matters, and to hold yourself to a higher standard even when no one else does. At the end of the day, you will look back on how you spent your time, on how you handled today. And you'll either feel proud or disappointed. Discipline is the difference. It's the quiet choice that builds a loud legacy. And it begins always with one small act repeated with purpose. 8. Use imagination to fuel your reality. Imagination is not a distraction or a luxury. It is not reserved for artists, poets, or children playing in backyards. Imagination is the foundation of every meaningful change in the world. It is the birthplace of innovation, the silent partner behind revolutions, inventions, and personal transformations. Every building, every business, every idea that reshaped history began first in the invisible world of someone's mind. Before it was real, it was imagined. And the great difference between those who drift through life and those who reshape it is often nothing more than the courage to imagine boldly and the will to follow through. This power lives in you. It always has. As a child, it came naturally. You built castles out of couch cushions, turned sticks into swords, made galaxies from shadows on the wall. You dreamed with ease. But somewhere along the way, as expectations grew heavier and the world's voice grew louder, that gift began to dim. You were taught to be realistic, to focus on what is, not what could be. You were taught to follow, not envision. But imagination never left you. It's still there, waiting quietly, patiently, asking only that you use it. Imagination isn't fantasy. It's not wishful thinking or daydreams with no direction. True imagination is a form of preparation. It's the rehearsal before the performance. The sketch before the sculpture, the mental blueprint before the bricks are ever laid. When you dare to picture success clearly, when you see it in detail, feel it in your body, hear the words, sense the movement, you begin to build a path toward it. Your nervous system starts to accept it as familiar. Your actions start to shift to meet the vision. That's not magic. That's biology. That's psychology. That's power. Imagine a person living in a forgotten corner of the world. No money, no name, no path. But every night they sit in silence and dream. They see themselves somewhere else, doing something more. They imagine the life they want, not just the outcome, but the feeling. They build it inside layer by layer until it becomes more real than the limits around them. Eventually, the vision is so strong, it begins to pull them forward. They wake up one day and take a step. It's small. Maybe it goes unnoticed by the world, but the step matters because it's aligned. And the second step follows, then the third, and slowly, the invisible becomes visible. This is how change begins. Not with a grand gesture, but with imagination daring to defy circumstance. Not all dreams are equal. Some people use their imagination to fear, to catastrophize, to rehearse failure over and over. They picture the worst and their body prepares for it. Their energy sinks, their vision shrinks. They don't even realize they're sabotaging themselves. Worry is a form of imagination too, just one that works against you. You become what you envision, whether you realize it or not. So ask yourself, are you using your imagination to build something greater or to protect yourself from something lesser? Are you rehearsing your greatness or your defeat? Are you picturing doors opening or slamming shut? The images you hold in your mind shape the life you live far more than the external world ever could. Your mind is the stage, and what you rehearse there determines the performance you give out here. The most powerful people aren't always the loudest. They're often the ones who carry a vision inside them so strong. It changes how they move through the world. They walk into rooms differently. They speak with clarity. They make decisions from a place of alignment because they're guided by something bigger than circumstance. They've seen the future, not in some mystical way, but in the truest sense. They've imagined it, believed in it, and then worked toward it with relentless consistency. This isn't about ignoring reality. It's about choosing which reality you're committed to shaping. Imagination isn't denial. It's direction. It doesn't mean you avoid hard truths. It means you hold a vision so clearly that even the hard truths become stepping stones instead of roadblocks. Every setback becomes a lesson. Every challenge becomes part of the process. You already know how to do this. You've imagined conversations that haven't happened. You've pictured events before they unfolded. Your mind is a simulator. It's always running scenarios. The only question is, are those scenarios lifting you or limiting you? Are they making you braver or smaller? Imagination is always at work. It's your job to take the wheel. So dare to dream again. Not just for the sake of dreaming, but because your life depends on it. Sit with your vision. Let it unfold in full color. Picture the version of yourself that makes you proud. Not perfect, but persistent. Not fearless, but courageous. And then let that image guide your actions. Let it become the force that pulls you out of hesitation and into motion. You don't need the whole map. You just need a picture of where you're going, and the resolve to take the next step. That picture, that vision is yours to shape. And in shaping it, you begin to shape the world. 9. Develop the habit of reflective thought. Each day passes with quiet urgency, offering lessons wrapped in ordinary moments, an offhand comment, a missed opportunity, a decision made too quickly. These lessons, however, are not always loud. They don't announce themselves or demand your attention. Instead, they wait. And unless you make the time to stop and ask, what did today try to teach me? You might miss them entirely. Life teaches relentlessly, but only the reflective learn. We often move through our days on autopilot, driven by momentum rather than meaning. One task leads to another. One conversation blends into the next. We finish the day exhausted, but not necessarily wiser. Without reflection, experiences pass through us without leaving a mark. They blur together, unprocessed, unintegrated. We repeat the same frustrations, make the same missteps, and wonder why nothing changes. But the truth is, the change we seek doesn't come from doing more. It comes from understanding more. And understanding only grows in stillness. Reflection is what transforms experience into insight. It's what turns pain into purpose and mistakes into maps. You might have 10 years of experience, but if you've never paused to examine it, you're likely repeating the same year 10 times. Reflection is how you break that loop. It's not indulgent or optional. It's essential. It's not just for philosophers or poets. It's for anyone who wants to live deliberately, rather than reactively. The modern world doesn't make reflection easy. We are constantly stimulated by noise. Silence is rare, and in its absence, self-awareness fades. But silence is where clarity lives. It's where you start to hear yourself beneath the noise of the day. When you sit in stillness and allow your thoughts to surface, you begin to see not just what you did, but why you did it. That why is everything. It's the root of your habits, your patterns, your progress. And unless you understand it, you're just guessing your way through life. Imagine a person who ends each day with intention. They sit quietly by candlelight, away from distraction. They open a notebook and begin to write, not for anyone else, but for themselves. They ask, what went well today? What felt off? Where did I act from fear? Where did I lead with courage? Over time, this simple practice becomes something profound. Their journal becomes more than a record. It becomes a roadmap, a mirror, a teacher. They learn faster. They stumble less. They carry their growth with them, page by page. Now ask yourself, do you ever stop to think about your thinking? Not just about what you need to do tomorrow, but about what today meant, about how it felt to be you, about how you reacted, what you avoided, what you longed for. Most people don't. They're too busy, too distracted, too uncomfortable with silence. But the ones who do, those are the people who grow exponentially, because reflection sharpens self-awareness. And self-awareness sharpens everything else. You don't need an hour. Even 5 quiet minutes at the end of your day can shift your entire trajectory. You can sit with a question. You can trace your emotions back to their source. You can notice where your actions aligned with your values and where they didn't. This isn't about judgment. It's about curiosity. It's about asking yourself gently, but honestly, am I becoming who I want to be? Reflection slows you down. Yes, but not in a way that hinders you. It grounds you. It recalibrates you. It ensures that you're not just moving, but moving in the right direction. Because without reflection, even your best intentions can drift off course. You may hustle harder, but toward a destination that no longer fits who you are. So take the time. Make the space. Give your mind a moment to breathe. Don't let your days become a blur. Let them become building blocks. Each one shaped by awareness. Each one contributing to a story you're proud to write. In the end, reflection isn't about dwelling in the past. It's about building a better future. A one honest thought at a time. 10. Commit to lifelong growth. There are 2 kinds of people in this world. The first believes they've arrived. They've learned enough, seen enough, done enough. You'll find them frozen in time. Their minds rigid. Their days repeating. They wonder why life feels smaller. Why passion fades. Why clarity disappears. But they never think to look inward. The truth is they've stopped growing. And when you stop growing, you begin to drift. You lose momentum. You lose perspective. And slowly you lose the part of yourself that was meant to evolve. Then there's another kind. The kind you still have every chance to be. This person doesn't believe in final chapters. They treat each day not as a finish line, but as a field to plant something new. They're not in a hurry to reach perfection. They're too busy becoming. For them, growth isn't a trophy on a shell. It's the rhythm of a meaningful life. It's not about how much they know. It's about how willing they are to learn, to change, to stretch. Growth is not something you cross off a list. It's not a single goal you achieve and then forget. It's a way of showing up in the world. It's how you read a book, not just for entertainment, but for expansion. It's how you speak with someone you disagree with. Not to win, but to understand. It's how you fail and still decide to try again. Not because it's easy, but because you believe you're not finished yet. And that belief that there's always more to become is the foundation of everything. True growth doesn't happen just by doing more. You can fill your calendar and still stay the same. You can chase goals and still avoid real transformation. Growth means becoming more. More curious, more aware, more capable, more honest with yourself. It means recognizing your patterns and choosing different ones. It means being willing to ask, what am I missing? What can I do better? Not because you're not enough, but because you were never meant to stay the same. Imagine someone who, no matter their age or achievement, still sees the world with open eyes. They ask questions not to impress but to understand. They explore new fields, try new skills, listen more than they speak. They read widely. They seek out people different from them. And they don't cling to being right. They lean into being real. Over the years, their mind becomes a garden of ideas, insights, and wisdom. Not because they were the smartest in the room, but because they never stopped tending to their own evolution. Now ask yourself, how do you move through your day? Do you treat it as a blur of tasks or as a chance to learn? Do you reflect on what you've done or do you rush on to the next thing? Are you actively shaping yourself or slowly settling into routines that no longer serve you? The questions you ask yourself will shape the person you become. Growth doesn't just happen. It's chosen again and again, even on the days when it's inconvenient. The beauty of lifelong growth is that it doesn't demand speed. You don't have to race. You just have to move in the right direction toward more truth, more strength, more openness. The smallest insight, the quietest shift, the humblest correction. They all add up. Over time, they change your life. They build a self that is resilient, wise, and alive. And perhaps most importantly, they ensure that your best days are never behind you because when you commit to growth, you commit to becoming someone who always has somewhere new to go. Not just in the world, but within yourself. That is one of the most powerful decisions you'll ever make. And it's one you can make today.